Hello, psychologists. I would like to talk today about how to do proper citations in APA format. Some of you have done citations before in MLA format and that sort of thing for English, but psychologists have their own format, and it's used in most social studies fields from the American Psychological Association. That's what APA stands for, and so what we're going to do is, if you're at home and you've never um, like done a citation for APA format, I want to show you a really cool site. It's called the Purdue OWL. And OWL, see, look at this, it even brings it up. OWL stands for Online Writing Lab. And you can, it's the first thing that pops up, right? You can click into the APA style guide, and this is what it looks like. Okay. Now, it's the opening page here is, it's got general APA guidelines. It's got, what to put on your title page and stuff. It's got good examples of how to do things, right? So a couple of places that I like to look here are the in-text citations, right? So let's talk about that first, and then we'll talk about how to do a references page, okay? So basically, if we click on the basics here, what you want to do is that each time you cite a source inside a document, whether it's a PowerPoint or a essay or a Prezi or any of those kinds of tools, what you want to do is you want to have a citation, okay? So if you're taking a quote, if you're taking an idea from someone else, even if you're paraphrasing it, if you're taking facts or statistics, all those things, you want to make sure that you have a parenthetical citation, okay? So what you're going to want is something along these lines, okay? And a parenthetical citation has a couple of forms, right? In each way of citing something, you're going to want three pieces of information. You're going to want the author, you're going to want the date, you're going to want the page number. We're going to be using a lot of things online, so we're not going to have a lot of page numbers. Okay, so we're mostly going to be focused on the author and the date. Okay, there are a couple ways to put an author and a date inside your paper. Okay, so let's pretend that we've used these kinds of quotes. Okay, students often had difficulty using APA style, especially when it was their first time. That comes from Jones, from a book he published in 1998, from page 199. All right. Now there's different ways you can cite sources. The first way is to mention the author, right? Like according to Jones, and then you put in parentheses 1998. Then you put a comma, then the quote. See the quote there? And then before you put the period, you put another parentheses for the page number. The second way to do it is to mention the author, right? Jones, 1998, found, blah, 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 whatever he found. And then a parenthetical citation after that with the page number, right? Remember how I said before that we may not have page numbers. And if that's the case, then all you would have would be Jones 1998. If this was a website, it would be Jones 1998 with nothing here. And then it would just be a period right next to the quotation mark. So like right here would be a period. Okay. If you don't mention the author in the original, like how you set up the quote, if you don't mention the author in your setup to the quote, then what you have is just, blah stated, comma, the students had difficulty using APA style, and then you need the author, the date, and if you have it, the page number. Okay? And you can put the quote in the middle of a longer sentence, like here. You can put the quote at the end of a little sentence, at the end. We call these tags. This is a tag here, right? According to Jones or Jones found. There's another different way of using a tag. But somewhere in that sentence, you have to have the author, the year, and if it's not a website, if it's an actual book or journal or something like that, then a magazine article, then the page number. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. All right. If when you have questions about how to do this, let me know. Okay. If you have super long quotations, which you probably aren't going to have too many of those, you're going to kind of do a little indent thing here, right? So this is, pretend this is the line of the paper, all right, and this would be like where a regular paragraph would go. If it's more than 4 lines, what happens is you just hit tab. So after you have the first line, found the following, comma, or colon, colon, and then you hit enter, tab, and then you write this line, and then when it goes down here, you hit tab, and then it'll do it automatically for you in Word if you're using Word. So long quotations of 4 lines or longer, they have a special way of doing it where you kind of indent things so it really sticks out in the paper. And of course, remember when I said that even if you take an idea from somebody and you're summarizing it or paraphrasing it, you still want to include a citation, right? So instead of having a quote here, right? Maybe this wasn't really a quote. Maybe Jones in this website that he's talking about has like a bunch of bullet points about how difficult it was for people to figure out the format for citations. And you want to just summarize that, right? And you want to say something like the APA is a difficult citation format for first-time learners. If that's the case, then you have the same sort of tag system. Do you see how it works here? You just don't have quotes around it, right? So you just need to put like Jones 98 in parentheses at the end of the summary or paraphrase, whatever it is. Remember that if a whole paragraph's worth of information is all coming from one source, you can wait until the end of that paragraph to just put one citation. You don't have to do it every line if it's the same, source. You can wait till the end of the paragraph and put it Jones 98 at the end of your paragraph if you want. Okay? So those are the basics of how to cite sources. Okay? So as you're working on your paper, that's what you want to do inside the paper itself or the Prezi or the PowerPoint, whatever you created. Okay? And then at the end, you want to have a references page. Okay? So it's probably actually easier if we look at the sample paper first. Okay? The cool part about the sample paper here is it's got a whole bunch of guidelines about how it should look. So, if you're writing an essay, this is how the physical end product should look. I use this all the time in my master's classes, so I kind of know I can answer questions pretty easily because I use it all the time. Okay, so what you want, let's make it a little bigger here, is a references page. Okay, and your references page, instead of having, I know in MLA style you have a works cited goes right at the top here. We're going to want something that says references. That's the APA style. All right, and you can see how references, pretend you're doing this in a paper or a PowerPoint, it's really easy to do. In a Prezi, with the formatting, it's a little more difficult, so you got to kind of play around with the formatting. But see how the names stick out on the left-hand side, right? Last name first, and then they just have a first initial and a period. So here's who, whatever who was. Here's Tidwell, whatever the first name is. If you have more than one author, then you just kind of pick one to go left, and then you have the initials, then an and, then the next author. And then you'll notice that the rest of the citation is indented, right? So it's over here and tabbed once, right? So when you get to the next line, you hit tab, or you might have to hit enter and tab to push it over one. Okay, so you can see that each one starts with an author's last name and a date. All right, and then it has the title of the. Let's pretend that this here is a website. If this is a website, we're not going to have the parentheses and stuff. This is actually a journal and the page numbers, right? We're just going to have the title of the website, and then in italics, we're going to have the title, or the title of the page is going to go here, right? So the quality of online social relationships is the title of the web page. And then the title of the website is going to be here in italics. This is probably the hardest part to get used to. So so this is the sample paper. Let's go to, do you see here how they have how to do citations in your references page? For each of the different kinds of weird things that could come up, right? For books, for print resources, for articles and periodicals, like magazines. We're going to be mostly focused here on the electronic sources though, right? And there's all different ways to do it, right? Here's an online periodical, here's a journal, here's an article from a database, an abstract, a newspaper article, electronic books, books on Kindle, Online book reviews, look at all these things, right? All different kinds of, anything that you could possibly, we're probably going to spend most of our time with non-periodical web documents, web pages or reports, okay? And so this tells you how to do it exactly, all right? So you start with the author, right, like we talked about before, and he sticks out, the author will stick out to the left. Then you have the date, then you have the title of the document, and then you're going to say retrieved from HTTP blah 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 blah, the web address. It's much easier to just cut and paste the thing in there, okay? Don't try and type it in, it takes forever. Okay, so and here's an example, right? Here's the author, right? Angeli, and there's also Wagner and Laurick and Moore and Anderson. There's a lot of authors for this one. Sutherland, Breeze, or Brizzy. A lot of authors. All right, then you put the date of publication. And then you put the title, right? The title of this website was called General Format. And it was retrieved from this website. They're citing this web page actually right here. This is called General Format, right? So, this website is really helpful in terms of what it should look like. And that's why I like it so much. Okay, it's got examples all over the place, and it's really easy to navigate. Okay, so you're just going to kind of like page down this left-hand toolbar side. See the toolbars there? Okay, but I want you to remember a couple things, all right? One is that we're going to spend most of our time citing from non-periodical web documents. Here, this is just your basic web page. Fancy word to say your basic web page. So in your works or in your references page, I almost said works cited, like we're in MLA or something. In your references page, what you want to make sure that you do is you want to have the author to the left-hand side and indented, right? You want to make it look just like this, with however many sources you have. Okay. So we've talked about how to have a references page. We've talked about how to cite sources in your text. Okay. When you have questions, because this is really complicated, I know, and you're going to have lots of questions, and that's totally great. Send me an email or text or see me in class. Okay. The best thing to do is to try one out, right? Get all this information, to try one out and then bring it to me and say, hey, Brysh, take a look at this. How do I format this? Where do I put the author? I'm not quite sure where the date goes, that sort of stuff, okay? The best way to do it is that way, okay? But there's a sample right here that you can look at, right? It's got citations all the way through it. It's got the references page that we looked at the end, remember? It also has some things that we're not going to use, like, it's got charts and graphs in it too, which we're not necessarily going to use right now. But remember, you can just look at the references page and to see kind of what it should look like. And then on the left-hand side here, you can look for in-text citations, right? And those are these two things. Or you want references list for electronic sources for the most part. If you're looking in something like a book or a magazine, you might want to let me know and I can help you format that for you. All right? All right, guys. When you have questions, remember, please contact me. You've got to contact me when you need help, all right? Because I don't know until after the assignment's due that you didn't know what you were doing. So you got to let me know, okay? All right, guys. You guys take care and let me know when you have questions, okay? All right.